Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very big news episode of a Slice of Gaming podcast. We got a lot of news here. We got some stuff from Switch, Nintendo suing Pocket Pair, a lot of PS5 remasters, a whole bunch of stuff in the news. A lot of stuff that would usually be in the major topics in the sitting around in small topics. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about. And joining me, I got a very fun cast because I need to get the best of the best in here to talk about this stuff. First off, welcome back, Bop.
Hello. Brian Ellis was going to be here today, but I decided to take his place instead.
I don't want to listen, man. We'll talk about Concord later. I'm still getting over it, man.
Hey, at least you recognize who I was talking about this time.
Yeah, really. Also joining us is Jack.
All right, the Switch 2, is it real? Is it not? We're about to find out.
Oh yeah, we decide whether it's real or not. we're the authoritative figures here. Jack, you're actually going to what's it called, Britain tomorrow?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yes, I am going to sit with Jim Ryan, and I'm gonna yap to him about why I haven't gone to PS5, and did you have anything to do with that pro pricing, even though you've been long gone?
Please get out of my house. And also rounding out the cast for tonight, last second, Moon.
I did such a good job last week that you brought me back.
Yeah, man, it's almost like you're one of the main hosts.
Hey, no, I like that. Keep yourself humble, Moon.
Yeah. Right. Anyways,
it's gonna be because now I got to talk about pirates.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Like I said, it's a busy news week, so let's just jump right into it. If you want to find us, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere podcasts are found. Check us out on Twitter at A Slice of Gaming. And I think we're ready to just go right into it with the Switch 2, which I feel like we've been talking about almost every week here. And guess what? This is yet another week where we're talking about the Switch 2. VGC post this article: alleged images of Nintendo's new Switch have appeared online. The images, which appeared on Reddit but were originally sourced from a Chinese social media site, shows a device with a larger 8-inch screen, magnetic Joy-Cons, and USB-C ports on both top and bottom. While the images are unverified, one source who has not yet seen the final Switch 2 console, who has not seen the final Switch 2 console but has been briefed on Nintendo's plans, told VGC that the Reddit images match what the company has told partners to expect from its design. According to today's images, Switch 2 will include 12 gigabytes of RAM compared to 4 gigabytes of the original Switch. Support for HDMI 2.1 and 256 gigabytes of internal storage compared to 32 gigabytes, which matches an alleged shipping leak from earlier in the year. While the design shown in the images shows similar controllers to the current Switch, there are some notable changes, such as revised SL and SR buttons and front-facing player LEDs. And then there's actual images. I recommend you guys look it up beforehand. You probably saw them already. They were floating all over Twitter when this broke. But I mean, listen, first and foremost, I gotta ask everyone here, do we think these images are real?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they look like a Switch.
Yeah,
really.
That's probably the most dead giveaway, is when something is very boring, it's most likely real because this is just a bigger Switch. There's not really much change to it. So that makes it lean more real because all the fakes go extravagant.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really is just like we were kind of, there was that fear in the Nintendo community. It's like, okay, how's Nintendo gonna, like, what gimmick are they gonna force into this thing? But it looks like they're gonna be safe. And yeah, it's just a bigger Switch. So what happened? The 3D modeling was from an enthusiast who saw the Switch, kind of 3D modeled the Switch. Also, in the images that Andy Robinson posted on Twitter, there seemed to be the actual controllers and the kind of the internal design of the Switch 2, and that's kind of hard stuff to fake. So I fully believe this is real as well. I mean, I will say us now, like, what do you guys think of this thing? Seems to just be, hey, it's a Switch 2.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's literally it. One interesting, I guess, design feature is that now there's 2 Type-C ports, one at the top, one at the bottom. So that's it. Like, I find that interesting in that you can literally charge a Switch and then also plug in a controller to it, I guess, which is cool.
Yeah, the top USB-C thing. I don't play my Switch on handheld. Is that like a really big deal for people who play portably a lot?
Um, yeah, because like I get. I guess it's one of those things where it's personal preference for like how people wanna like mount their Switch, like maybe for some like while they're playing on like a car ride or on a flight, the top one might it's just more convenient
Yeah.
than like than the bottom one.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to like kind of plug it in from the top and be able to still play the Switch without much
Yeah. Oh yeah.
inconvenience.
You can rest like your hands down, and it's not like you don't feel like you're bending the cable, and kind of have that awkwardness. But yeah, I'd agree. The top USB-C is actually a really nice change.
Bob, I actually want to ask you directly. So I'm not the tech guy. Everyone knows this. I can barely tell the difference between 720 and 1080. So that's what we're working with. But I look at the numbers. The numbers seem to be improved. 4 GB of RAMs to 12. About 256 internal storage. That sounds like a lot. I don't know. You know this stuff a lot more than me. What do you think of those internals?
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed. I think this lines up with I mean, you already said it lines up with one of the leaks from earlier this year, and if it's the leak I'm thinking of, it puts the specs somewhere between a PS4 Pro and an Xbox Series S. If I remember correctly, it actually has more RAM than a Series S.
Yeah.
Um, and
that's 10 gigs.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think
This
that's
only has 10 gigs of RAM.
Yep.
yeah, I think that was like the one like major thing they kind of pointed to, and that as one of the reasons why it's harder to develop for it. So hopefully the Switch 2 won't have those issues. But yeah, I think it's hard, right? Because we just are hot off the presses of the PS4 Pro and comparing things on paper, and we don't know how it's actually going to perform. And there's wild speculation on, well, on paper it's kind of close to this, but we'll see how it goes. So take it with a grain of salt, but I do think, kind of in the same way the Switch was a little bit behind the Xbox One and the PS4, I think the Switch 2 will be a little bit behind the Series S and the PlayStation 5 to a lesser extent, which is good because I think there's diminishing returns on hardware, and so I think this is like the last major leap they have to do, and I think they'll be in a good spot going forward. So I think overall it should be very comparable. And plus two, I think there's competition now with the Steam Deck, right? And the ROG Ally and all these handhelds. I think they can't afford to lose to direct competitors now. Before it was like, well, they were really the only handheld. Well, now they're not. So I think they really had to put an emphasis on that. Plus, we know they're working with NVIDIA, so there could be DLSS or an equivalent of a PSSR to kind of upscale things and make that look better. So
You don't have to say equivalent to PSSR. They just say DLSS.
Yeah.
That was the first one on the scene.
Yeah, but at least with PSSR, it's like a console's trying to do it. So like I know Nintendo won't have their own proprietary one, but it's just nice to see the console space kind of adopt that more.
Yeah, they're gonna call it NLSS or something like that.
Nils.
Yeah.
I mean, Bob, to piggyback off what you were saying about like competition, do you think Nintendo's even trying to kind of fight in that realm, or is this more just like they're trying to get us something that's gonna be good enough for another 7 years of a console to be able to still get those third-party ports? Because I bet something that a lot of like they were not. I don't know if Nintendo was expecting just the sheer amount of third-party support that like their partners really wanted to do, and they were like, "Listen, we want to develop for this thing. We want to do stuff on this thing, but it's just not working out." And I think they get a lot more, especially Japanese developers, where the Switch is the biggest thing ever in Japan. If you get a lot more of those people, like third-party developers, developing stuff for Switch 2 in Japan, you can see stuff like big Square Enix ports, like day and date on the Switch 2. You can get maybe FromSoft games if we're lucky. I'd be very interested to see kind of like what the third party support looks like now that they have a much more significant amount of RAM. Because I always heard that was like the big thing about the Switch that had it have trouble running these games.
Yeah, that's I think where you'll see load times and stuff be so long, whether it's you enter a door and it changes to a different screen and it takes like 5 seconds rather than instantaneous, stuff like that. I think that's where you'll see those improvements, or if like a Mario game where you fall off the level and you instantly respawn, stuff like that. I think you'll see huge improvements there. But to go back a little bit to the hardware, my big thing about this, I love the addition or supposed addition of like the magnetic connectors for the Joy-Cons instead of the rails. The rails always felt a little, every like 1 in 50, I put the rail on and I'm like, ooh, this does not feel, why do I feel like I'm breaking this thing right now? Like it didn't, it wasn't often, but it's enough to be like, what the fuck's going on? But my concern now is, listen, Nintendo, hey, me and you, safe space, circle of trust. You can make an adapter for $20. Let me use my old Joy-Cons. Don't make me please add like some little thing where like it's a little mini rail that I put in, and then it's a magnetic a connector, and then I can put it into the Switch too. Please let me use my old Joy-Cons, because I finally found a pair that I love. And if you make me go back to not being them compatible, I'm going to lose it.
You are at most, you will be able to connect your old Joy-Cons as like Bluetooth.
Oh,
yeah.
Use them, but you ain't connecting it. I want to believe. I just don't.
I know.
I want to believe I can use my old Hori pads.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Right, seriously.
I mean, those things are expensive, right?
Yeah, they were like
$50,
something like that.
Oh, dang. I mean, I think that's around the same price as a Joy-Con, so. I guess one last thing I want to mention, the reveal of this thing. So we've been hearing a lot of rumors, a lot of like some unsubstantiated stuff, but a lot of like people like Nintendo Voice Chat, other like big actual game companies, I think Limited Run, are at Nintendo HQ, and they are going to be at Nintendo doing stuff, and they can't talk about it until next week. Do you guys think that could point to a reveal next week?
Ooh, I mean, Tokyo Game Show is next week, right?
Tokyo Game Show is like the big, like, do they want to be around that?
Yeah. And usually Nintendo does, like, they usually have their standard directs. They usually do it right before, like, TGS comes on. So I'm thinking if they want to do something similar. Yeah,
TGS is an interesting thing. I mean, I think for sure, if it's going to be revealed next week, you're going to see it playable at TGS. Like, maybe they'll have, like a back room where it's like any journalist that's there, hey, you can go check it out, try it out, feel it. I think they want people to really feel this thing and go like, hey, this is a massive improvement over the Switch. This is like, they're changing it up. I really wonder what the direction Nintendo kind of markets this thing is. Do you guys think if it's not next week, we don't see it for months, or is it like we're pretty imminent? Like if it's not next week, then it's the week after we're in that cycle again?
That's the $1 million question, because once you get past like TGS, you start getting into why announce this, because you can still go another holiday season of selling the Switch.
Mm-hmm. I think
so. Now, granted, that's only going to revealing the Switch 2 in like October or something is really only going to affect people like us. It's not going to affect the common consumer who is just now buying their kid who just turned 13 their Switch this holiday. It's not going to affect people like them. But it's such a weird thing, because like you don't want to step on the holiday toes, but at the same time, for people like us, if we have a Switch, or if we're already holding out for a Switch 2, that's not going to be changing anything this holiday season.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is like the leaks are getting more. Like we are now seeing prototypes. We are flying way too close to the sun for there's something to not be imminent. we're not getting renders of like the one picture that Andy posted is of an actual motherboard and an actual like case of a Joy-Con. Like we have to be getting close.
It's on the assembly line. Like they started working on it. Like I think it kind of points to, hey, we need to reveal this thing now, because eventually, like if this goes on for the next couple of weeks, it's like, okay, now they're taking pictures of the box, they're taking pictures of the like full complete Switch and all that kind of stuff, and I think Nintendo just wants to avoid that completely.
Yeah, it's either next week or just saying it's got to be either next week or or they're gonna risk like factory pictures gonna start coming out.
Yeah, exactly. We will see. Nintendo always beats to the march of their own drum. We're gonna actually talk about Nintendo just in a little bit later. So very weird company, but hey, I'm excited for Switch 2. Can't wait. I'm just interested to see what this thing will really do, especially when we start seeing some games revealed for it.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
Oh, no, yeah. So yeah, just really quick. Like, I think the one cool thing will be like, I mean, I'm sure backward compatibility is gonna be a big thing, but now like the Resident Evil games, and there were a few of those like Hitman that were just on like the cloud versions. Those, in theory, based on these specs, should be able to run them native. So I'm curious about that. If they can get those ports running, because I'm sure like Capcom would love to do that.
God, do you guys remember when they kept doing those stupid cloud ports? And like Kingdom Hearts got cloud ports. It's like, these are PS2 games. like that's just Square being lazy. God bless. Let's just hope that cloud ports are not a thing moving forward. But hey, maybe some company will pull off some stupid shit. Who knows?
Black Myth cloud port.
Yeah, really. I mean, listen, I'm playing Black Myth. I could probably run on a Switch too. I'm just saying. Anyways, let's just move on. We'll get to that and what we've been playing. But for now, we got to talk about PlayStation making stupid decisions, guys. Listen, as a PlayStation fan, the most "we're so back, it's so over" month of my goddamn life. It's just
join the club.
Yeah, really. God bless. I apologize, Bob. I get it now because
it's the gif of James Franco looking over his like first time.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Listen, man, this company, it's funny. We're in the it's so over club because we just got news of two PS4 games getting PS5 remasters. Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered has been rated by the ESRB. This is something we've been hearing about like forever now. And if it's rated by the ESRB, that means it's very imminent, most likely in that rumored state of play next week. But also, Insider Gaming has this rumor circulate that Days Gone is getting a PS5 remaster. Mike Straw wrote this. It's not Days Gone 2. But the franchise could be making its way to PlayStation 5 anyway, with rumors of an upcoming state of play. New possibility. Based on a tweet from Jordan Midler, it would appear that Days Gone is going to be one of those games announced at the state of play. Quote, if he was angry that his character is an Astrobot, he's going to lose his mind at this, Midler said in a reply to another post suggesting that an even less exciting remaster than the reported Horizon Zero Dawn was coming. And this also comes on the back of Jeff Grubb, who also states very blatantly, it's like, yes, the other remaster is Days Gone. What the fuck are we doing here? Like, Horizon, fine, it's stupid, but okay, it's the best-selling PS4 game. You want double dip money, sure. Days Gone genuinely just makes no fucking sense to me. Because it sold well. Didn't sell insanely well. Like, it sold around the same amount as Ghost of Tsushima, which at this point it's just kind of seeming like they're going to remaster all their PS4 games at this point. So, hey, maybe we'll expect a God of War at this in this next juncture. And listen, I like Days Gone, but like, I don't know what. There's nothing really that special about the IP to where it's like, oh, now we get a PS5 remaster and get people really hyped for something that all runs perfect. It runs perfect on PS5. It is 4K 60 already. Well, I don't know if it's 4K, but it's 60 FPS. It's very smooth to the point where it's like, I don't know who this is for. I don't know what this is for. Now I kind of know what it's for. There's a Days Gone movie in development, so it's probably something to coincide with that. I don't know why PlayStation does shit like that, because I think it's like we're gonna try to get sales off of the show or the movie. It happened with Last of Us. Last of Us sales really went up. my argument there is that you saw what the Fallout show was doing, and Fallout 4, 76, and New Vegas all got like really massive sales spikes regardless. So it's like maybe they want to get the sales spike off of a $70 game. Really shitty, but that's all I can really think of. So yeah, I don't know. If you guys have much to add, it's just really stupid decision in my opinion. I don't like this direction for Sony.
Yeah, and I'm hoping. I mean, like the thing is with Horizon Zero Dawn especially. I mean, I'm hoping they don't delist the PS4 version because, like, I mean, that's just way cheaper, right? Like it's like it goes on sale for like $12-13. And
I think they delisted the PS4 version of a recent PS5 remaster. I think I'm wrong. I might be wrong. But yeah, no, I agree with you, Chad. That would be really shitty.
Yeah, and yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say, like you're saying, like it just seems really pointless, like in that, especially with Horizon, which already runs at 60 frames and looks great. It only came out in 2017, like around the same time as Breath of the Wild. So yeah, it's just a very lazy cash grab for them.
Just doesn't make sense, man.
I think.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I just think that like this news would be have been taken better because I think a lot of people were quick to be like, but Nintendo releases last generation games on the Switch all the time. What's the difference? And it's like, well, Nintendo's still releasing first party games. Like, I know we just had Astrobot and there's been second party deals, but like let's face it, we haven't gotten a lot of Sony first party games recently. And I think the fact that we have gotten now Last of Us Part 1, Last of Us Part 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, and now Days Gone, all within potentially like year and a half, maybe 2 years, and there's been more of those than actual first party games. That's I think where people are getting a little bit up, it's a little justified because it's like, listen, I don't think anyone has, too much beef with remastering a game as long as you're producing other stuff. It's just you're not really producing a lot of stuff right now, so
Bob,
it's gonna draw more ire.
Sorry. It's just I'll piggyback right off that point. Like more so, it's not even like the lack of first party and second party releases. I think it's more so the fact that you can already play these games. Nintendo games,
no, for sure.
Like I can't play a Wii U game on the Switch. Like I can't put the disc there. These games run perfect. Like they already got patches that already do the 60 FPS. So I don't understand what they're adding.
Now, to be fair, I don't think we should defend Nintendo for having terrible backwards compatibility and like not being able to bring your games forward. I think we should not give them a pass for that. But that is obviously that's a big factor in that. But there's a couple of things where it's just like, I understand why they're doing it, and I'm sure they're gonna get some sales from it. I mean, we already heard Bench is on the list. He's on the pre-order list. He wants to play the Days Gone. No, Days Gone. He said he would buy the remaster. They got a sale, baby. They're making their money back.
Days Gone, I don't recommend anyone play it.
Well, you'll have to have that conversation with them.
I'm never going to be able to convince him not to spend money. Moon, you were going to say something earlier?
I was just going to say, well, yeah, Bob pretty much nailed it on the head, but I was also going to say, I did not know a Days Gone movie was in the works. And this article I found was from 2022. Man. Have they even filmed this thing? Now I want to know.
The Days Gone IP has had the weirdest trajectory ever. And it's like, just let it go, man. Like, I like that game. I'm a little sad that we'll never get a Days Gone 2 because the twist ending is sick as hell. And it really sequel baits you, but just let it go. Let Ben do something else. Like I mean, Ben is doing something else. It's just funny. I mean, they referenced it in the article. The fucking Josh Garvin, I think his name is, the person who directed Days Gone, was so pissy about like Deacon and Astrobot, and he's been like on a weird Twitter rampage for like the last few years about like they wronged me, Ben kicked me out, Sony that. And it's like, dude, just let it fucking go. It's so weird.
He got his cut, right? He got his money. That's
He got the money. I don't know.
it.
Kind of a big baby. Let's move on to yet another really weird decision. A lot of weird decisions are happening in the industry right now. Nintendo, with the Pokemon Company, are suing Palworld. Wario64 has this. Nintendo, with the Pokemon Company, have filed a patent infringement lawsuit in the Tokyo District Court against Pocket Pair Inc. This lawsuit seeks an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages on the grounds that Palworld, a game developed and released by the defendant, infringes multiple patent rights. Nintendo will continue to take necessary actions against any infringement of its intellectual property rights, including the Nintendo brand itself, to protect the intellectual properties it has worked to establish over the years. A lot of lawyer talk. And Palworld themselves put out a response on Twitter, pretty lengthy. The one thing they had here, okay, this is the most interesting part that I find really funny. I don't know why. They say, it is truly unfortunate that we will be forced to allocate significant time to matters unrelated to game development due to this lawsuit. However, we will do our utmost for our fans and to ensure that indie game developers are not hindered or discouraged from pursuing their creative ideas. It's like, okay, man.
Yeah.
I mean, listen.
And on your soapbox.
I think this is a really silly lawsuit, and especially it seems like Nintendo's trying to go for a patent on basically monster catching games, which is something they didn't even create. It was in Dragon Quest, it was in SMT before that. I don't know. This is a really kind of shitty situation. I think this is probably just going to settle. I just hope it doesn't settle on Nintendo basically getting a copyright or patent on anything. I don't know too much about this legal stuff, but
didn't it come out that they're more focused on the mechanic of capturing a creature with a sphere object is what I think the patent is what they are going after.
So yeah, it's hard to narrow this down right now because A, Nintendo didn't say anything, B, this is happening in Japanese court, and C, we only have information, to my knowledge, about US-based patents. So when you keep seeing those screenshots of people looking up patents held by the Nintendo Corporation, and they're like, well, they just filed it last month. That's because they filed it in the US last month. That doesn't necessarily mean that they filed it in Japan last month. So I think there's a lot of misconception there. But also, yeah, to your point, and I didn't think about this because I'm a big Palworld fan. I feel like I gotta hold down the fort. I gotta hold down the fort for the goatee.
Okay, let's calm down. I
was curious if you were gonna say something about that. Okay, so when I was thinking about this originally, I was like, what could they go after? And yeah, I think the sphere specifically is going to be a problem, but then there was one patent in particular, which if they filed in the US, I'd imagine they would have filed it earlier in Japan, made me think of Pokemon Legends Arceus. Because in Pokemon Legends Arceus, that was the first time you could walk around in third person and free aim at a Pokeball at a monster to catch it. Now, you had that kind of in Let's Go, and you kind of have it in Pokemon Go, but in Legends Arceus, you are free control, third person, not on rails. You have to actually aim it a little bit and hit the button to throw it, and that is the exact same move in Palworld, where you're free aim, third person, you aim the sphere, and it catches it. So, unfortunately, that now. Is that so generic? Yes. I don't think it's still monster hunting, at its core, and there's nothing Pokemon is doing that is that I think should this is so much less of a case than the Nemesis system. I think the Nemesis system, as shitty as that was, that's at least something new and unique. Pokemon's not reinventing the wheel here. That's I really hope this gets thrown out because it's it has proven a strategy in the legal world. They're literally called patent trolls. They will sit on a patent and then litigate and then settle and take the money, and they won't press any further. And we know Nintendo is incredibly litigious. So, and that's also why I think they waited, because now the game has a lot lower player count. They've already made their money. If I had to guess, I would say that they won't be able to take the game down or pull it, but I think Pocket Pair is gonna have to settle for a hefty sum.
Yeah, I just really hate patenting game mechanics as like just a concept, and it sucks
For
that that's
sure.
like something that happens because the whole gaming industry is built on like building off others' ideas. Like this has been going on since the 70s of building off of others' ideas. So the fact that like these game companies are able to go, actually no, that was a really good idea, and now only we can do it. It's just garbage. Like, imagine if Nintendo said, hey, the idea of like moving around in a full 3D environment with Super Mario 64, yeah, we patented that idea. Damn, okay, guess we'll never get another video game. Just playing 2D games on other consoles. It's just an absolute ridiculous idea. The fact that it's even allowed just sucks. But yeah. I'm with you, Bob. I think this is probably just going to settle. Pocket Pair is going to pay a hefty sum, but they have the money, especially after how massive Palworld was. Far exceeded what their budget was for that game, most likely. So they'll get the money. It's just, I don't know. It's a weird situation. Moving on, there was an EA press briefing. So there was kind of technically like 4 big headlines. I only put 2 of them. I'll just ask you guys right now. Star Wars Jedi next game is going to be the conclusion of the series, and a lot of Sims stuff. Any thoughts on those 2 things?
I mean, we knew it was coming, right? Like, I loved the first one. I only liked the second one, but yeah, I want them to impress me for this third one and somehow launch without any issues. Can they do that for one of the Jedi games, please?
Yeah, really, I hope so. At the end of a trilogy, it makes it more interesting. I'm glad they're saying like, hey, this is going to be the end. Like, there's no like, oh, maybe he returns. But I guess we'll have to see when the game comes out.
Somehow Cal Kestis has returned.
And I don't think any of us are Sims heads, so nothing really to say on that.
Speak for yourself. No, I'm not.
Yeah, dude, that would have. I was like, maybe there's a chance Bob likes Sims. You'll say like the most random thing. Like,
well, I mean, the closest thing is like Planet Coaster, but yeah, no, I don't go that hard into the actual day-to-day Sim stuff.
Respect. I played Sims 3 Pets on the PS3 for 10 hours. So, hey, shout outs to you, Sims. But the actual 2 things that I decided to parse out, which I hope you guys care about. Warrior 64 has this. Vince Zampella confirms next Battlefield will use modern setting. First concept art revealed. 64-player maps, classes to return, specialists will not come back. Battlefield 3/4 era considered peak of Battlefield, which is weird. I'll get on that later. We have to have the core. The core Battlefield players know what they want. EA plans to launch community program next year. Then we also had this thing. EA now has 4 studios working on Battlefield and says they're focusing on multiplayer, single-player experiences, and a brand new experience for the 2025 game with second-player experiences. Holy shit! I will say the thing that stands out to me. I don't know why it stands out, but they say 3 and 4 were considered the peak of Battlefield. I feel like 1 was Battlefield 1.
Yeah.
I don't know if is that weird to say?
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, that one was largely successful. Like, it got a lot of people playing. Like, I remember there being pretty high player counts, and then right after that was Battlefield 5, right?
Yeah, that one didn't work out
where
well.
it went down. Yeah.
But are you guys Battlefield guys at all? Because I'm not either.
No.
Unfortunately, not.
Damn, chose the wrong crew. I mean, listen, do you guys? I guess I'll ask more wider industry question. Do you think Battlefield can come back? Because they just had like 5 and 2042, 2 big misses in a row. Will Battlefield ever be like kind of the Call of Duty competitor it used to be?
It could if they actually did a decent game, because there are people who want that style of Battlefield back, and when it comes back eventually, hopefully, for those people's sake, and they'll be all over it again. I don't know what those guys are playing right now, maybe just going back to the older ones, but I'm sure they're just yearning for a newer one that's actually a success and is actually good. So, yeah, I'm sure if they actually nail it out of the park with a game, it can be a competitor again.
Yeah, there was that game, The Finals, that got really popular, and I know a lot of Battlefield designers were working on that game. I think completely fell off a cliff. I don't know, Bob. Is that true?
Yeah, it did. But it to your point, yeah, I think the reason why that game got a lot of support from Battlefield fans as well is because, like, to its credit, all of the like environments were destructible. So it was like one of those things where you could literally collapse an entire building to play an objective on. But yeah, I don't think the player counts are very high on that anymore.
Interesting.
But that also, like, kind of, as far as if Battlefield can come back, I don't think it'll ever reach the peak it had, and I think they need to just make something that can sustain a player base. Don't try and be a Call of Duty competitor anymore. Just get in your pocket and, like, get the fan base that you can, because I think the more you try and, like, compete with COD, the more you're not going to get those people anymore, and you're just going to, alienate the player base you do have.
100%. Yeah, it's a difficult market, the first-person shooter market, especially the multiplayer FPS market. So I don't really envy the position they're in at the moment. I just hope that in some ways, like, maybe they can try to maneuver their way around and find a spot, find a niche. Not even a niche. Like, I want, like, a Battlefield game to do really, really well and get that massive concurrent player boost. It's just been really rough for Battlefield fans the last few years for them. Because, again, Battlefield 1 was massive. Like, that was that was the same year as Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, the one everyone hated. So to see, like, Battlefield 1 really come out and, like, it was like, this is what we want. This is what the boots on the ground, I remember being, like, the big word at the time. Fascinating. I'm hoping good things for the Battlefield franchise moving forward. I think it's interesting. They got 4 studios working on that game. Pretty insane. But also kind of the usual suspect for a massive multiplayer game like that.
They're really trying that hard to be like COD.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Moving into the last thing from the EA press thing, and I'm hoping I got this right. Bop, do you care about Skate?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. That was kind of an assumption. I don't know if that was rude of me to assume, so I'm glad I got it right.
No. Yeah.
And you think I'm a Skate fan?
Yeah.
I love Skate 3.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, hopefully you're gonna be there for Skate, but just called Skate because reboot titles are a thing. Skate is officially launching into early access next year. Jordan Midler of VGC. Full Circle provided little information about the early access release in its announcement on Tuesday, such as platform. However, the game had previously been announced for current consoles and PC. Players interested in the early access release can sign up on Skate Insider for more information, according to EA. Bob, I mean, I'll ask just off the question, like, are you interested in this idea of, like, kind of a live service Skate? Are you worried? And also, just, like, what are you going to try to get into this thing?
Yeah. This is something I'm not sure what EA's goal here is, because I feel like when you think of skateboarding games, granted, Skate 3, big open world, but within that, there are contained areas where I feel like you do have, like, your core gameplay. I just don't know what a kind of more live service multiplayer Skate really does. Granted, the skateboarding genre in general is kind of outside of Activision remaking Tony Hawk 1 and 2. There's not really a whole lot going on, so maybe it's just people will want to play it. But I know it's still in early access and alpha, and the game still got a long way to go. But I haven't really been impressed by anything I've seen for, like, player models or physics or anything. So I also don't know if they're still. I don't know what game engine they're using, but Skate 3 is so old, it predated Frostbite, and I feel like EA keeps running into this issue where they force Frostbite on everything, and it just doesn't work. And I really hope this game is not running on Frostbite, because that would also be a huge issue for me personally, because we've seen EA for 10 years now try and brute force Frostbite into everything, and it produces less than stellar results.
I have heard they better optimize the engine in recent years. I think the new Dragon Age. Oh no, that's on Unreal, right?
I think it originally was on Frostbite, and then they moved it to Unreal, if I remember correctly.
Okay, completely disregard that last sentence then.
I could be wrong too, though.
Yeah, I don't think about Dragon Age too often. I'm sorry. There were those Dragon Age previews. Okay, listen. Can I be real with you guys? I saw those Dragon Age previews, and I saw Game of the Year contender being thrown, and I got really, really sad. I want the game to do well, but I want it to do 8 out of 10 well. I don't want it to be Game of the Year because it's gonna happen. Keely's gonna stroll up there and say Dragon Age, and everyone's gonna groan. Like that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just because of Inquisition, or
because have you noticed how many like games industry people are like super massive Dragon Age fans? It's like I swear to God, these are the only Dragon Age fans. I don't ever meet Dragon Age fans outside of that.
That's fair.
It just feels like an uninteresting win. It's like, oh, Dragon Age wins versus Astrobot or even Rebirth. Like, damn, I'm sorry. I'm Dragon Age phobic, I guess. I don't know.
I do think it's. I mean, if we want to get into it for a quick sec, I will say I didn't look much into the previews, but those Shinobi screenshots, I think I lost it at those. I was like, okay, that's what will get me to play that game is their freaking photo mode. And honestly, like BioWare needs this. Like BioWare being good is good for the industry. Like BioWare being back is good for the industry, and I think people want to root for them to finally be back. I know Bench has been a loud supporter of that, and as much as I hate to side with him, I definitely think this is a good thing. And selfishly, I need this to be good so they still make the next Mass Effect. Like I need BioWare to be back and make a banger Mass Effect again because you're like, the Dragon Age people, yeah, they're loud. The Mass Effect people are 10 times louder.
Oh yeah, for sure. And also, Veilguard is on Frostbite, so I think if Skate's on Frostbite, it won't be that bad of a problem. I think they better optimized it to handle games of other genres. But I still get your spectacleness.
The problem is just like the sports games have been on Frostbite pretty much the whole time, and they just have never really been good. And I feel like that's like a good comparison. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. I hope for the best, but right now I'm not exactly signing up for their early access, or I'll kind of wait and see on that one. Yep.
Hey, no problem there. Let's move into our next story. This is a weird one. Okami Games has this from Forbes. Marathon's $40 price point is real, according to anonymous sources. Game will launch at $40, barring a seismic shift. Quote, Concord's recent failure at $40 did not change this, and it is simply too far along to pivot back to free-to-play. Includes standard Battle Pass item shop. There are, in fact, heroes with unique abilities and personalities. Class system is most similar to Apex Legends, but with more customization. Heroes can be customized with skill trees, gameplay buffs. Gear and guns you loot during a match will be lost. Loot during a match will be most important and can be customized further. Art direction and visuals from trailer intact. Next showcase for the game likely won't be until spring 2025. Still a 2025 release window. I mean, the big thing to note is the $40 price tag. Just off the bat, I see a lot of people really worried about this, and then I see people bring up Helldivers. Well, that was at $40, but then it's like, oh, Helldivers is a different genre. What's the fear or excitement? Well, maybe not excitement. That's not the best word to use, but just the skeptical nature of this $40 price tag. Do you think this will be an automatic death knell, or is it a wait and see?
It's not an automatic death knell, but it doesn't help when the industry is so accustomed to, here's your multiplayer shooter, but you have the paywall to get people from not getting into it. The best thing you can do for a multiplayer game is to let people experience what do you offer as a multiplayer game. And I know a lot of people will say, well, this one's an extraction shooter, this one's a team-based shooter, this one's a hero shooter. That's all fine and dandy, but there's still that paywall of, well, there's a lot of risk that people will say, okay, what if I spend $40 and I go 5 rounds in this game and I just don't like it?
Yeah.
Unless you're buying a physical copy from GameStop or something, you're not going to be able to return that. You can't return digital games. Well, I guess you could on Steam, but Xbox and PlayStation, not really. As soon as you boot up the game, you void that. So, and unless they're going to put out like a bunch of betas to hook people in to be like, hey, here's our gameplay, let's see if you like it, and it's addicting to people, then yeah, then okay, then maybe you have a little bit of leeway there. But so did Concord. Concord had their beta so people can play it, and look what happened.
I will say I think this one has a lot more of a chance considering it is Bungie, and just off the first trailer, I mean, let's be honest, the art direction is 10 times better than Concord, God rest its soul. It just feels like $40 in a competitive first-person shooter, because the difference here is that Helldivers 2, yes, it was $40 and it sold well, because there's nothing else like it right now. In this current climate, like that Left 4 Dead style cooperative shooter, like PvE, they do not exist. And if they did exist, they're like Back 4 Blood and nobody fucking liked it. So Helldivers 2 was like, hey,
you can play Helldivers 2 by yourself.
Exactly. I mean, like, there's just so much more to Helldivers 2 to make that $40 attractive versus what we're seeing here with, like, at least what we hear about Marathon. Now, again, we could be wrong. We could see this game again. It looks sick, and they do a bunch of betas, and they get people in, and, like, you see a massive concurrent player count, sells a lot, but I don't know. It's just very much a wait and see for me. Bob, do you have much interest in Marathon? I know you're a big Bungie head, or at least like a Halo head.
Yeah, I mean, I never played Destiny, so.
Not even like booted it up.
Yeah, no, I no. Actually, that's a lie. When it came to Game Pass, I tried getting into it. Did not make it very far. I respect what they do, and I think I'm open to Marathon and the idea of an extraction shooter because I hear my friends talk about like Tarkov and how much fun that is. So I'm not like against it. I also don't think the price point really matters because at this point we've seen it work with Helldivers and we've seen it not work with Concord. So it's kind of in this weird ground where I don't think that really signals anything as of yet. But you know, I'm kind of just in the wait and see. Like we still need to see just genuinely like a gameplay deep dive.
Yeah, just need gameplay.
Yeah.
And when I say all this negative stuff about Marathon, I'm not expecting a big Concord failure because that is a once in a lifetime kind of failure of Concord.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going with the way it's going, unless it just blows people out of the water with its gameplay and their roadmap and all that. I just don't think it's going to be as big a success as they want it to be.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people were putting a big stock into like, oh, people at Bungie are saying like they're worried if the game's going to do well. It's like, yeah, they also said about Halo 2, and that worked out very, very well for that game. I think it's like a lot of games you'll see like mid-development. If you ask developers, they're like, this is not going well at all, and then by release it works out. So again, we need to see this thing, see it for ourselves, and if it does look as good as I'm hoping it does, then hey, it'll get people on board and very much shouting like, hey, Bungie's back. At least hope so. Next up, big one for Moon here. Sega unveils new Like a Dragon game, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
Hell yeah.
Such a funny title. Sega and Ryu Gotoku Studio. Oh, by the way, this is Andy Robinson at VGC. Have announced Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Announced during a live stream on Friday. The game will release on February 28th on 2025 for PS4, PS5, Series X and S, Xbox One, and PC via Steam. Game is an action-adventure title, non-RPG like recent spin-offs, starring the popular recurring character Goro Majima in a story which appears to follow directly from Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Goro Majima, a notorious ex-Yakuza, suddenly finds himself shipwrecked on a remote island in the Pacific. A synopsis for the game reads, unable to remember even his own name, he sets sail in search for clues of his lost memories, accompanied by a boy named Noah who saved his life. Before long, they're caught up in a conflict between cutthroat criminals, modern-day pirates, and other scoundrels over a legendary treasure. Players will be able to assemble a crew, upgrade their pirate ship, and battle other ships, and sail the open sea to discover locations such as Hawaii, Rich Island, and Madlantis. I mean, this game sounds sick.
And typical the Yakuza fashion, they give you a deep trailer for it. I think it's like 5 minutes long or something. And it's like 90% story. You only get some gameplay in the last like minute or so. And yeah, they reveal it's a more of an action game like the older Yakuza titles, where dude is doing like Devil May Cry combos on these poor pirate thugs.
Seriously.
And it shows for anyone who knows Majima from the games is he basically has shadow clone jutsu, and you're gonna have full access to that. So that's gonna make the hacking and slashing a lot more fun. And there seems to be two different styles too from the breakdown from the live stream. Is one where you're on land, you're on Hawaii, you're on the islands and all that, and then there's like a different kind of combat when you're on the ship. And apparently there's also ship combat too. So there's a lot to this game. And also the fact it looks this good, and it's also running on a PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. That's crazy.
I mean, they're reusing a lot of assets from like Infinite Wealth and previous Yakuza games even before that. So that's not too surprising.
It's just kind of funny what people are saying in comments. Like, yeah, they made this whole map of Hawaii. They're going to milk that thing for a good couple more games. Like, they're going to put a couple more games in Hawaii just to keep reusing that map.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, this seems just like a lot of fun. It's a nice side content. And boy, are they pumping. They're pumping these things out. And they're such high quality, too. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to ask you right there is like, do you think there's kind of be like a little bit of burnout at this point? Because like when this game releases, that means there will be 5 Yakuza games in the last 2 years. Or is it that because they're such high quality, it doesn't really affect kind of the enjoyment between them?
I think it depends on when you play them, how you play them. That's for someone like me. I didn't play all of them. I played Like a Dragon and I played Infinite Wealth, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have played Gaiden, but I didn't hear like the greatest things about it. Like it didn't review that great, so I'm just like, okay, this seems pretty skippable. What was the other one that came out? Oh, the man.
Ishin,
Yeah,
Oh,
Gaiden
okay,
is the man who erased his name. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was talking about Ishin originally.
Gaiden.
Yeah, Ishin didn't review very well, and it was kind of middling. Gaiden I hear is pretty good, but it's also very short, and it's more tied into Kiryu if you're really attached to him. I haven't played Yakuza 1 through 6, so I didn't feel a need to get my full backstory on what Kiryu's been up to. So I didn't play that either. But I feel like maybe if you have been die-harding the games like as they release every year, you may feel a little bit of burnout. But at the same time, if you're that into the franchise, you're probably saying, well, I'm eating, I'm feasting.
Yeah, I was about to say, because like every Yakuza fan I've seen, they're like, give me more. But Chad, did you have anything?
I was just gonna say, so yeah, it's probably up to personal thing, and the fact it seems to be working for them, where you get a mainline game every 2 years, and you get this smaller side game every other 2 years too. But this one doesn't feel as small as the other. Now, again, it could be. They didn't really give a scope of it, like if it's bigger than like Gaiden or Ishin or anything like that, or if it's. I doubt it's the size of like Infinite Wealth, because that thing was gigantic.
I think this is going to be like 14 hours is kind of what they said.
Yeah, which seems right for this kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. Well, like, because I played like a Dragon Gaiden, and like I was still able to get, even though I haven't played any of the Yakuza games, like I was still able to kind of like piece it together on what was happening with Kiryu's arc and everything. And I think the main reason was just because of like that this is just like a good shorter Yakuza experience, and I think this one's gonna be just like that, where like it's a nice like shorter Yakuza experience where the story's like kind of its own thing, and sure, like knowing the character helps, but like it still seems self-contained enough that I can enjoy it without knowing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. It's very much like you don't need to have like full knowledge of the series up to this point to really get a lot out of it. Yeah. Bop, I'm assuming you're gonna wait until you play through all the Yakuza games first in 2020.
Dude, this is just another reminder.
Stacking up.
It's just another, because they all look so like I've played Zero, so I have like a good fundamental understanding of every character. Well, not every character, but the main characters and plots and all the goofy things that can be in a Yakuza game. I just don't know. What's his name? What's the new guy's name? Ichiban. Yeah, I just don't know Ichiban, but I'm sure, like from what I've seen, I'm sure he's an awesome character too. So it's just it's another one to be like, man, I really need to start getting through these, because they just keep stacking up.
Hey, you just gotta be like Cyber, break your leg, be out of work for like 2 months, catch up.
It's a broken leg game or broken leg franchise, I guess. another broken leg franchise that doesn't seem to be doing nearly as well is Final Fantasy, guys. One of my favorite quotes for the podcast. According to Square Enix financial results, FF16 and Rebirth did not meet expectations.
What?
I was tempted to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
okay, everyone say it at once, but I'm like, that's not gonna work.
Yeah,
The delay would be tough.
Quote,
yeah.
we released. Oh, sorry, Jed. Did you have something to say?
No, I was gonna say, who's Square Enix? My parents. After I get like a 90
Dude,
on my
that's-
report card.
They are literally the parents of video games. They just are never satisfied. Quote, we released multiple new titles, including major titles such as 16 and Rebirth, but profits unfortunately did not meet our expectations. Yeah, I mean, like, this is just everything with Square. I always see the joke of, like, they need to fire the guy who sets expectations, because it's clear I think he's the real root of the issue. But also, I mean, this caused a lot of conversations in the industry. Is Final Fantasy as a brand just losing a lot of relevancy? Do they need to ditch the numbers? Is it like the onboarding experience just isn't there? Exclusivity, all these different things that are brought up in relation. I mean, what do you guys think is like the root issue, or if there is a root issue, if it can be solved? What's the future of this franchise?
Have we gotten like sales numbers out of like 16?
I think 16, well, last we updated was 3 million. And by now should be at 5 million. If we look at sales trajectories.
I need to see if that's actually a good number or not.
Oh, that's pretty good for a what's it called? A franchise, a Japanese franchise. And that's usually
and an exclusive at that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So I think it's just that I think it's probably there is no one answer. I think it's probably just a mix of like everything you said. And there's like no one fix all. It's like, well, if you make it exclusive, well, you make it multi-platform, you only get 1 million more. And maybe you ditch the number and you get maybe like 1 million more. So it's not like I don't think there is a big fix all. I think it's just a culmination of probably the biggest though is they have too high of expectations. I think that's probably the biggest one. If you had to point to one, it's probably that they don't set realistic expectation to one, an exclusive, two, a long JRPG, which as much as we all love to say JRPGs is like one of the biggest genres, it's still niche. And a million other things.
And just the fact that it's like 16 and 7 Rebirth, that doesn't look good to someone who wants to try to get into a franchise. They're like, oh, I got to start at the beginning. Even though, yeah, we know not to start at the beginning. They don't. Like the common consumer doesn't.
Yeah, they need to be like Xbox and be like Final Fantasy Series X or Final Fantasy 360. Just make it all make no sense. So you're like, okay, this looks fun. This doesn't have to do with the last one. I can do this.
Or just say fuck it and call it Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin and see how that does.
Right. Like, I think they could totally. I think that the number is starting to hurt them a little bit, but I think it goes back to what we were saying about Battlefield, where I want game devs to evolve and want to make products they're passionate in, but it's clear that there is definitely a divide in the Final Fantasy fan base on turn-based versus action RPG, and whether or not that's good or whether or not people want to see that out of the series. And I think the more, it's like right when Final Fantasy started to go less turn-based and more action-based, that's when I think Persona really started to take off as like the turn-based genre. And now you're starting to see even like what's that game next year? Expeditions 33, where it's like it's an action turn-based game, and it's like, yeah, well, maybe Final Fantasy should have kind of stayed in that pocket, because now they're doing, I think, what I talked about with Battlefield, where and maybe that's just what the direction they wanted to go. I don't want to fault them for that, but at the same time, I think it's clear that they're not really gaining a new audience with that style, and they're
100%.
not. They're alienating a lot of their fan base that supported them for the last 20 years.
And I mean, like you said it right there. It's like if you keep changing style of how your game is done, and like changing, like, oh, now it's like action RPG, and now it's more action like Devil May Cry. It keep changing it. you're shedding off old fans and you're not gaining new fans. And they keep trying to gain new fans, and it's just clearly not working. I think really at this point, maybe you do just call the next one Final Fantasy. And listen, I hate reboot titles. I am the person to say how much I hate reboot titles. They kind of work, and they've been proven to work. So maybe that's the strategy moving forward for this franchise. Last up, we get to talk about one of my favorite games of the year.
Astrobot?
Astrobot?
I wish. No, we're talking about Concord.
Of course.
Again, there's somehow something always to talk about with this game. So
It's going to be studied for years to come.
I mean, yeah, deservingly so, considering its reputation. Jordan Midler of VGC, and this is not a fake headline. This is a real headline. Sony's Concord reportedly cost $400 million to develop. The game was reportedly referred to as, quote, the future of PlayStation internally. That's according to PlayStation podcast Sacred Symbols, which claims that the game, which was recently taken offline by PlayStation after just 2 weeks on sale, was referred to as, quote, the future of PlayStation internally. Sony offered refunds to all the people who played it. The report also claims that a culture of toxic positivity shut down any potential pushback to the game's direction of internally. The game's director reportedly stood down last week, according to Kotaku. And also, I should point out, what's his name? Ethan Gotch over at Kotaku also stated that he can corroborate the claims of the toxic positivity mindset. There was a whole 8-minute clip over at Sacred Symbols. I watched the whole thing. Kind of get context of like basically what exactly happened with Concord and like this insider scoop. And I feel like pretty much everything there I fully trust in. I think Colin's pretty good at citing his sources. He rarely ever brings in a source, and this is like one of the few times like he will if he fully like double checks and whatnot. And it seems pretty legit for the most part. The only thing that I'm a little apprehensive to is the 400 million, because I just don't see that. There was one quote in particular that I really want to bring up after you guys say your piece, but like just real quick, I need to point something out. $400 million is more than Spider-Man 2. So that just says a lot right there. I don't know. Do you guys have any thought? Do you think that $400 million is legit? And there's a whole slew of other things about that toxic positivity and everything.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that number because I just Googled like what's like the most expensive movie budget made, and even that's not 400 million. Like that was Pirates of the Caribbean 4. That was 380 million.
Jesus, man.
Yeah,
so
Yeah, it's a bit weird because I could see it because of the whole motion capture thing, but at the same time, as he was saying in the video, because I watched the video too, and he talked about how they put in like this 200 million, and then Sony came in and be like, okay, now here's another 200 million. So I don't believe that number is right, but I do believe that situation happened to where Sony basically came in and said, okay, yeah, we're gonna push on that, we're gonna push on this, we're gonna make this as big as possible, and we're pretty much double their budget. Now I think that number probably got lost somewhere, and then somehow this 400 million came out. But I do think that situation did happen, and it's just crazy. I do think it's probably on the higher end, just given the level of the animation and all that, and the fact that they were planning on a year's worth of weekly animation. So that I can almost believe it. It's probably pushing somewhere around that, but I don't think it's at 400 million. But I do think it is very expensive, and if we ever do get actual numbers, it's probably going to be up there in some of the more expensive games.
Oh yeah, I mean GTA 6 is beating that budget.
Yeah.
But the note actually on top of that, what you said about Sony adding another $200 million on top of that budget. Apparently, what happened was that the game was effectively in an alpha stage when Sony saw it and they bought the studio, and it was effectively unplayable. Like it was an absolute dumpster fire, even more so than it is now. And they spent that $200 million like getting support studios, getting a lot of people just to try to make this thing work in some way. And Dustin Furman, who's one of the hosts on Sacred Symbols, pointed this out. The credits for Concord is an hour long. No one watched the credits because no one played the game, but apparently those credits are over an hour for a studio that has like 150 employees. So that tells me a lot of support studios, a lot of like internal management, crazy hullabaloo. Bob, I just want to get your thoughts in before I drop like a really interesting thing that I found like fascinating that I don't see enough people talking about.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think I fully believe the $400 million number. You know, as much as I think Colin is a legit voice in the industry, this was one person who came to him and he vetted him that he actually worked at the company. So I believe that. But to how much he knows and to how much he knows about the financial situation in particular, I do think it's worth putting some grain of salt on that. But yeah, if it is true, I mean, yeah, I think this just shows how much of a development hell this was, but also like how like the sunk cost fallacy of, you know, we can cut factions because I guess we didn't spend that much money on it, but we're so in the hole on this, we need to get the money back, but then they take it offline and refund everyone anyway. Like, I guess they got money from the controller. You know, I
Yeah, that controller's kind
cannot.
of sick though.
Yeah, I just can't. I can't believe. I just every time this game comes up, it's just I cannot believe this happened at a first party, you know,
Bought the
studio.
studio. They bought them, Bop. Did
Yeah.
they see? So the thing I wanted to bring up that I honestly found the most fascinating part, we all kind of blamed this game on Jim Ryan, and we said like, "Oh, this is a Jim Ryan decision." Apparently, this was Herman Holst's baby. This was Herman's like big thing that he was very much like vetting for. Like he was very much really shepherding this game into Sony and was like really fighting for it. That makes me more worried. That's the most worrying part about all this because yeah, sure, you could say like, oh, they lost 400 million. They'll get that money back. They will eventually find a way to get that money back. But you're gonna tell me that the guy who greenlit, like who fought really hard for Concord and really believed it was basically gonna be a new Star Wars for Sony, that's the guy now in charge. Like he just became co-CEO. That
And he's
is
also
terrifying.
now shepherding Marathon, so it all comes back in full circle.
To be
Wait,
fair with
Wolf.
Marathon, that was like Bungie beforehand. What's up?
You played Concord, right?
God,
6 hours.
Yeah.
few.
Was I not aware that there's a character named Aloy in it or something? Why did Herman like back this so much?
Honestly, you know what? Yeah, they're fair enough. I mean, listen, we got like 7 Horizon projects. I don't know about this Herman guy, guys. It just, I don't understand how some like a Jim Ryan doing something like this. It's like okay, it's more believable because he's the money guy. He just saw the dollar signs. He didn't actually see the creative vision. Herman's been making games for the industry since the early 2000s. He did like Killzone and into Horizon. Like the dude clearly understands gaming, so I just don't understand what he saw in this thing.
To go
But
off
hey,
the Star Wars analogy, like I could see it. Like you launch this game of a hero shooter, you expect an Overwatch kind of situation where people come to really like the individual characters. So then you start pumping out spin-offs of like single player experiences focused around each character. And then yeah, it becomes this massive universe of spin-offs. So I could see what they were going for because yeah, look when you look at Concord as a concept, it's this galaxy-wide full of stories of these bounty hunters and all these other characters, and you're like, okay, well now you can explore all these worlds, you can explore these characters. So I can see what they were going, but you needed a strong foundation first. I think it's kind of like the Marvel Star Wars problem that we currently are in. They're looking too far ahead and not focusing on the thing they have to do right now, and that's build a solid foundation. So yeah, that's just kind of where it all fell apart.
yeah, no, I mean, like, I'll just say this. I feel like the last we're gonna hear about Concord is when we inevitably see the Firewalk studio closure. Because listen, here's the thing: if you lose, like, we were kind of guessing around $100 million for the budget, and it's like, okay, it's not looking good for Firewalk, but like maybe they could be made into a support studio or something. 400 million, bro. I am like firing them instantly if I'm Sony. And listen, I hate for that. I love like I don't want these people to lose their jobs and like their livelihood. But $400 million, that does not look good on a spreadsheet. And it's like, well, we need to try to get that money back in some way, at least work towards getting that money back. Let's get rid of the studio. So,
You know what we do? We
What's
greenlight a Days Gone remaster. That'll get us money back.
Yeah, really.
Genius.
Concord's the reason we're getting all these remasters. Thank you, Concord. Oh, man. Concord, God rest your soul. We hardly knew you. Like, literally, we hardly knew you. You were there for 2 weeks. Moving on. That's all our news. Like I said, very busy news week, but we got through it pretty quickly, about an hour in. And now we get to talk about the reviews of the week, which there were actually multiple games that came out this week. I just didn't think there was much to say, at least for you guys. I'll just go through it real quick. Frostpunk 2 had an 86. None of you are Frostpunk guys, I assume.
No.
Nope.
Happy
EA,
for 'em.
EA Sports FC 25 at an 84 somehow. Those games keep getting worse and worse
That's
each year. but God
crazy.
bless them. Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. I almost put this one 81. It's a remaster of Dead Rising. Looks great, and it's good to see that it's getting good reviews, but not much else to add there, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and also for Bob, Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown.
I'm glad you brought it up.
57. I can't believe this. I thought this game you could get out of your car was going to be awesome.
You know, maybe let the guy who likes racing games be the voice of reason on racing games, huh? How about that? How about we
Okay.
let the experts?
But okay, Bob, but you have to be real. You would pop off hard if the next Forza game let you get out of the car.
No, oh my, we're not rehashing this argument. That's not the point of the game.
Come on, just imagine, you're on a cliffside, you just drove your car, and it's like, man, I want to take a screenshot. Let me get out of my car, like it's GTA, and just look off into the sunset. Like, it's pretty. Come on. No, I got him, Jet. I think I got him.
No,
Yeah.
no, you did not.
you sighed. That was maybe
That's
you're
like-
right, Sai.
That's like no. That's like okay, because I'm trying to think of a comparison that would drive you insane. It's like you playing Uncharted and Nathan Drake's like, "Hey guys, let's just get in an airplane and fly in a circle for 30 minutes, just because we can. I just want to really drive this airplane. Does it have anything to do with the story or gameplay? No, I just really want to drive this plane. It's like, what are we doing here? That's not the objective we're going for. Like, who cares?
I care. Anyways, let's get.
Well, you can go ahead and play that 57, sir.
I'm good. Because I will be playing Plucky Squire. I'm not going to be playing it. It sounded good as a transition. But the Plucky Squire, our big review of the week, got an 83 on OpenCritic. IGN gave it a 7. A lot of 4 out of 5s from Eurogamer, GameRant, The Gamer. Nintendo Life gave it a 6. I saw a couple outlets give it pretty low scores, but then I saw some 9s. I think GameSpot gave it a 9 out of 10. So kind of back and forth. Originally, it was actually at 86 when the reviews first dropped, so it dropped a good amount from there. I'll be honest, the reviews kind of unsold me on the game. When I hear someone like a Jeff Grubb and Greg Miller, who both of them I really trust on their opinions, and listening to them talk about it, it's like, yeah, I just don't think this is for me. Bob, it's funny. Greg straight up said, it's like, yeah, this is more of an experience game. And that was the moment I'm like, I'm out. but yeah, it seems to be. Moon, I know you were excited for this. Did you pick it up?
Yeah, I got it because it was on PS Extra, and I'm only a hour or two in. I'm on chapter 3. Granted, those chapters are 10 minutes long. But I just got to the point where you start doing all the wacky stuff of hopping out of the book, flipping pages and all that. Because everything beforehand, the first 2 hours, you're playing a standard, almost top-down side scroller kind of thing. So I just now got into the 3D world, which I'm going to say right now, that looks amazing. When you're actually out in the real world and on the kid's desk, it looks so nice. But I don't know. Fusion said he's about to beat it, and he doesn't seem to be jumping off the walls about it, but he seems to like it. It seems like it's going to be very. It's going to be. I feel like it's going to just be a lot of yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird thing where I was so confused about the 9 out of 10s, especially with the way that certain people talked about it. It's like, I want to know what you guys are seeing.
I think it's going to scratch a certain itch for a certain group of people, but for everyone else, it's going to be yeah, this is a good game.
Mm-hmm. Jab Bop, any interest from you two?
The art style looks cute, but just from the reviews I've heard, I'm like not 100% set. So it's one of those things where I'll wait for it like later on, maybe if it hits Game Pass or like it hits one of those humble bundles.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like
Yeah.
if this wasn't on PS Extra, I wouldn't be playing it because one, it's like what $30-$40 or something like that right now at launch. I'm like, nah, this is not a. Especially when they said, oh yeah, it's gonna take about 8 to 10 hours, and Fusion's like, it's more like 6. So yeah, I'm not spending $40 on a 6-hour game.
Yeah, so
I think for
$30, it's like oof.
I think for me, we kind of talked about it leading up to the game. I was scared that it was style over substance, and it kind of sounds like it's style over substance. So yeah, I think I'm still interested in it. And I think if there's a sale or if it comes to a subscription service, I subscribe to. I definitely want to check it out, but in the current moment, plus there's just too many things to play to like take a risk on something when there's things that I know I want to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's just. I was actually really excited for this game. So to hear that, because it looked kind of like a Zelda-like, like a 2D Zelda game, and then also you had these 3D sections. It's like, God, that just sounded so awesome. But just like you, Bop, I was having that fear of like, oh, maybe it is style over substance. And
Yeah, I think
very
it was
much.
me. I can't remember who it was, but I remember talking with someone here saying, "Yeah, definitely, it might have been Fusion, but yeah, we were all saying the same thing. It feels like what if it is just a bunch of cool gimmicks and that's it? It's like not much of an actual game. It's just like gimmick to gimmick to gimmick, which it does feel like that is."
100%. So yeah, happy for the developers at least. Hope I think it's doing pretty well. I think they stated that like, oh yeah, we're happy with the sales. So excited for that. Moving on to what we've actually been playing. Sorry, did you say something, Win?
I was gonna say, let's point out some other indies that came out this week. That
Oh yeah, was there a lot?
the indie,
It was
the Inatria, the last song that Souls like.
yeah, I saw it got a 70. It seems like people are like, yeah. Listen, that's around the range that Souls likes usually.
And then there was another indie game that I've been keeping my eye on since. I can't remember where I first saw it. It must have been one of the indie presentations from earlier this year. But it's called Key Locker, turn-based cyberpunk action. Comes out with an 83, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep my eye on this.
I thought you were going to talk about UFO 50.
No,
that's one that actually looks really sick.
That doesn't look anything my style.
True.
90
that also
on OpenCritic. I almost
UFO 50 got a 90.
Yeah, I got a 90 on OpenCritic.
Wow.
Granted, there's like 11 reviews, but still, like
Sure.
that is very impressive, and it does look like something my style. Having 50 different games, and they are very much full games. This is one to keep my eyes out. Is it only on? It's only on Steam. Never mind. I don't care about it anymore.
Steam Deck.
No, I don't want to use it. I don't care.
That's the perfect kind of game for a Steam Deck because it's like it's a retro style game.
Yeah, but I don't play games.
Okay, listen. Okay.
No. I get it, Bob. Listen.
So I will say to you, you need to hear this story. I saw a tweet listing all the different styles of games. Do you want to know the line item that I popped off for?
I swear to God, if you say racing,
there's 2 golf games in it, baby. Let's go.
Oh my God, the most Bop thing ever.
That's what got me to buy it today. I was like, you know what, golf. All right, we're in.
Hey, listen. Report back. I really want to hear more about that game. When it eventually, it better fucking come to PlayStation or Switch. Like, come on, man. This is getting ridiculous. Like, why do indie developers do this? Like, is it that hard? I don't care how hard it is.
It's a lot of money.
But spend the money.
I think it's a really like low like I don't think a lot of people made this game. So I think they just had to release it on what they could.
You know what release day and date on consoles?
Okay.
Animal Well.
Yeah, no, but that's different. Animal Well got picked up by Donkey's publisher.
Oh, but I'm still saying it's possible. This is by the Spelunky developer. You got the money, buddy. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Never mind. I take back everything I just said. I'm completely wrong.
But yeah, UFO 50. I'll care about you when you're on PS5 and Switch. Moving on now to what we've actually been playing. Me and Moon already talked about Astrobot last week. But Bop, how is Astrobot?
Yeah, I am in World 3, and I'm having a really good time. It's a really fun, lighthearted, super well like detailed game that it's I haven't been able to like really. I'm just based on my schedule right now. I've kind of just been picking it up, playing a couple levels, put it down, so I haven't been able to like really and there's not like I have to dedicate a whole lot of time, so that it kind of shows how I'm only in World 3. But I'm really liking what I'm playing of it. But there's definitely an element of yeah, you kind of have to have nostalgia for PlayStation to really get your full enjoyment out of this because I'm like I don't know who that is. Okay, no, I recognize that guy. But yeah, I mean, even then, like that's not. I can't really knock it too much. But at the same time, I do kind of. I guess I'm a little surprised. I know it's a love letter to PlayStation, and I know it's like an homage to PlayStation, but I was kind of hoping that like Astrobot himself would kind of stand out a little bit more, and it seems like it's more about PlayStation than Astrobot, which is totally fine. I guess I'm surprised. I thought he was going to stand out a little bit stronger on his own.
Yeah, no, that's all fair. That's fair. I think it's like Astrobot kind of is PlayStation in a way, though, and it almost feels there is. I think there's a lot of merit to the discussion, at least the criticism of everything around Astrobot, like kind of the enemies specifically and the bosses. That's the generic aspect of it that you kind of wish had a bit more of that like personality that feels like they put so much love and effort into the PlayStation stuff. But I still kind of stand by like I think this game is high quality even without the PlayStation stuff. Like I think it is
100%.
top tier 3D platformer. Even if you completely removed all the PlayStation stuff, it just feels additive to the experience for like a longtime PlayStation fan as me. And I think there's still like stuff that like you for sure at least recognize and grew up with Bop. I bet, unless you didn't play games. Okay.
No, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like, obviously, like Crash and very like even when the we were talking about it earlier when the Days Gone guys came up, I'm like, oh yeah, Bandana, that's definitely someone from Days Gone. I don't know who it is, but clearly that and it's always funny too because like they have the cheeky little descriptors, and I'm like, okay, I think I can piece together who this is from that. So that's kind of been a fun thing. But yeah, no, I don't want to say like my thing about Astrobot and PlayStation, like that's not the mark the game because yeah, this is truly a incredible 3D platformer. And I think it controls so well. Like this, okay, this is the ultimate like testament. I don't mind using the DualSense, and I actually prefer using the DualSense for this game, and I don't have like any gripes that I would with like
Ladies and gentlemen,
other PlayStation game.
we got him.
Team Asobi is the one developer that makes me not hate the DualSense, and that's like the most praise I think I can give a game.
God damn, bro. He just has to talk shit about the DualSense even when he's praising it, huh?
Oh, if you want me to talk shit about it, I mean the Astrobot DualSense.
Whoa. Leave my son alone.
It's just too glossy. My hands are slipping. Why'd it have to be glossy?
Are you talking about the gloss on like the front?
The front, yeah, the little blue, like the on the top side of on the handles. It's like my hands kind of slip a little bit.
You know what? Yeah,
I get sweaty hands.
No, that's fair. If you yeah, okay. If you have really sweaty hands, I can imagine like just slipping. That's why you got to get that PS 30th anniversary controller.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm really fighting the urge to get that thing. I almost put it on the dock.
I'm losing that urge. I'm getting that thing.
It just looks so fucking good, Moon.
Yeah,
that gray. Anyway, but yeah, no. Bop, any last thoughts on Astrobot? Gonna be jumping more into it.
Yeah, no, I think I am excited to see where this lands in the Sagis because it will most likely be. I could almost guarantee top 3 right now.
Oh, dude, I'll tell you right now. Like, you're really gonna like feel a lot with that game with the ending. Like, me and Moo can tell you that ending.
Sure,
does a lot. I should talk about Black Myth Wukong, which I've been playing a lot this last week. I'll be honest.
It's a
7
wolf
out of
ass
10.
game, right? Oh.
No, shut up. I'm so sick of those two. Tark and Bench specifically keep telling me wolf ass game. Let me tell you guys, no, it is not. It is fine. It is a fun game. It has really amazing set pieces, like visually very stunning for a team's first game, for especially like the size of the team. It's pretty small. It is a very impressive game, especially in the 6-year development time, all that. And I love the scale, and I love the Chinese mythology. The Chinese voice acting is incredible. All this stuff is so sick. But this is just a 7 out of 10 Souls-like. And I want to point that out. This is a Souls-like. I am so fucking sick of people saying it's not a Souls-like. You have healing gourds when you heal at the rest points. You respawn all the enemies. The only thing is that when you die, you don't lose your souls, or at least the equivalent of them. Which, okay, that's like one aspect, and then everything else is Souls-like. So to me, it's still very much a Souls-like. And I just find this game kind of fine. Like, the combat is fine. To me, one of the weirdest things is that there's no block, which I just don't really get completely. So it wants you to dodge, but eventually you get an ability that kind of lets you parry, but it's also like on a cooldown, so you can't really have that really cool Sekiro feeling of being able to parry. And I'll be honest, a lot of it is kind of on me. I just compared this game a lot to FromSoft because I just think FromSoft is the best at making these types of Souls-like games because they created the genre. And I just think, okay, it doesn't really feel anywhere near as good as like Sekiro or even like the Dark Souls games. And the dodge just feels off, and the fighting feels off. I know you fight with a staff, but it really does feel like I'm just hitting people with a stick. And there's no guttural feeling. The sound design just doesn't feel right. And I know that a lot of my criticisms, I'm just saying feeling. It's very much a game you have to play for yourself to understand a lot of like what I'm saying. But to me, it just doesn't have a lot of that like sound design extraordinaire of the FromSoft games. And even, here's the thing, I'm not even saying FromSoft games now. Lies of P is fucking amazing. And a lot of what made that game amazing is that they nailed so much of what FromSoft is able to do with their level design, with their combat, and the way that everything sounds and feels. The only thing they missed really was the balancing. And I think Black Myth Wukong is like, oh, you guys are so close to really nailing it. I feel like if they just had a bit more time in the oven, maybe hamper down some of these systems better, improve the way that everything kind of feels, it would have felt substantially better. But yeah, I don't know. This game is, to me, just a 7 out of 10, and I felt like it was a 7 out of 10 by like chapter 1. And the Fusion was like, oh, by chapter 3, I felt like it was like an 8. And then I'm on chapter 4 and it's still a 7. It's like, okay, maybe I just don't get it. And I mean, listen, Dark, Bench, and Fusion, they're all very high on the game. And I get a lot of the like positives for it. But just overall to me, like, I don't think this is a Game of the Year contender or anywhere close. But still, great game. Good game. I recommend trying it out on a sale. But yeah, Black Myth Wukong. Bob, do you have any interest in checking it out?
Nope. But
I just unsold you.
I just, whether or not like the Souls title or descriptor, it's just anytime those comparisons are made, I need to be in a specific mood to like grind or want to fail over and over and over again. And those are just kind of games I try and play like once or twice a year, and just not. When that time comes, I will go and play Wukong, but just not there at the moment.
No, when that time comes, you're gonna play Elden Ring.
Yeah, I guess I still gotta play the DLC, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I mean, listen, I really do think this is a pretty easy skip, in my opinion. I am surprised by the amount of people that are very adamant, like, this is a Game of the Year contender, because I'm like, y'all need to play Astrobot. Listen, that's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, overall, skip it. Bob, you just put bops. Is there anything that you were meant to put there?
Yeah. I couldn't think of a word to be like bops, like bops bag of games, but there's just a few I wanted to kind of breeze through here real quick. Still playing Deadlock.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, seriously.
Take your time.
Deadlock, still playing that. I'm really getting into Deadlock, guys. that game is actually kind of fun.
So is
Yeah.
it like out? Like I don't know what the deal is.
You can
It's-
get in through an invitation.
It's
Okay,
still
still invitation,
it's
gotcha.
still doing early access on Steam, but it's got a pretty solid player base. And it's very like they update it literally daily, sometimes multiple times a day. They are constantly tweaking that thing. It's my first time really playing a MOBA. It's my first time playing really something where you have to aim on mouse and keyboard besides like a Counter-Strike where, it's more of like an active aim and shoot. And I'm definitely the learning curve is steep, but I keep looking up. This is how I know I'm in. It's like I keep looking up build guides. I keep looking up like character tier lists. I keep looking up like what strategies I should do. Yeah, it's like kind of replaced Overwatch as like a game that, and it also helps that like I have a bunch of friends that are playing it, so like we'll normally like 5 or 4 stack, and
yeah,
which
that
makes
helps
it a lot. Right, yeah. So it's like I'm laning with my friends, or we have the majority of the lobby, so we can all just hang out in Discord. So yeah, Deadlock, it's really impressive. I don't know how they're gonna if that's gonna come to console or how they're gonna do that, but I would imagine it's gonna be on PC for a long time going forward. But definitely something to check out. Finally, my what is it called again? Aya Neo Flip DS came in, which for most people who aren't into the PC handheld space, basically one of the Chinese PC handheld makers made a DS with a like 7-inch top screen, and it's still like a second screen, pretty much the size of the original DS or the 2DS. So it's like the first real handheld to be able to properly emulate DS, 3DS, and Wii U. Problem is right now with DS, the emulator itself is a little finicky, but 3DS and Wii U work great, which is why I am finally playing Ocarina of Time for the first time.
Took you long enough?
It sure did. It sure did. But I'm having a great time so far. I really kicking my it's this I keep comparing it to my first playthrough of Final Fantasy in 7 in 2021 where I'm like, how did I wait this long? How have I never played this game? How was this game made in the 90s? Because oh my god, like this thing and I know it's the 3DS version and sure there might be some quality of life stuff, but for the most part, I mean, come on, this game is so forward thinking for its time. And it's just, that lighthearted, whimsical nature of it all. You really feel like you're on a hero's journey, and it's just I can understand why it has a 99. Like it's just a pinnacle of video games. And I'm still early, so I don't want to sing its praises too much, but like I'm really impressed what I've played so far.
I mean, without Ocarina of Time, 90% of the games we play today don't exist.
100%.
Like so many of these games, like their DNA comes from that game. So it's extremely important. I'm glad you're actually finally understanding like why we herald it so highly.
Yeah, and like Zelda was always a series I never like. Literally, Breath of the Wild was my first Zelda, so I just it completely
God, you're older than me. What the hell?
I know, dude. Like I just completely missed the Zelda games growing up, and so it's definitely one of my biggest blind spots, and I'm glad I'm finally getting to it. And then real quick, just 3 I want to rattle off.
3?
Yeah, real quick. I'm telling you they're quick.
Okay.
RKGK or Rakugaki came out earlier this year.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like
I remember that.
yeah, it's like a 3D platformer, kind of cyberpunk, like action game. Got a great soundtrack. It's got a great art style. It looks beautiful on PC. I just kind of started playing that this week because it finally went on sale. It's a lot of fun. I'm having a good time with that. This is calling back from Steam Fest or Next Fest demo. What the Car finally came out, which is that weird kind of it's not a it's like kind of like a speed runner where you're just like you have an objective, you try to get to the end of the level going straight ahead, but they keep adding all these different modifiers. Pretty goofy, pretty lighthearted, very simple. That came out, and then Wolf, you should look up this game because you're gonna be like, what am I looking at? You're gonna be so disgusted with me.
Oh, okay.
The game is called Parking Garage Rally Circuit. This game
Okay,
came
let's
out
see.
like literally a couple days ago, but the whole shtick is that they made it look like a Sega Saturn racing game, like a rally, like an old school rally racing game, but it's taking place in parking garages, and it's all about drifting and getting like a faster lap, and there's leaderboards,
Oh,
and
this looks sick.
dude, it's so cool. Like it's they're really like put like there's challenges. Like the courses are kind of hard, and you really got to like you can't just like run a lap. Like you really got to be like, oh no, I'm restarting because I can get it. Like the neon white effect is starting, or I'm like, no, I can cut it down my time. No, I can do this better. No, I can do that better. And really, all it is just drifting around a parking lot. It's so cool, and the art style is awesome. So that's definitely the standout of the week for me.
Dude, what the fuck? This looks awesome. I don't even like the Sega Saturn. I respect it though. That's a cool art style to try to go back to. Yeah, no, I mean, listen, Bob, I always appreciate you bringing in these random games that like I probably wouldn't talk about usually, or even like think about. That sounds like a backhanded compliment. I meant being real.
No, there's a podcast I listen to. Shout out, Season Gaming. Where
We don't shout out other podcasts here.
Yes, we do. Where there's a guy on there. I'm sure you guys know Hogue Law. He was a big talking head during the Microsoft Activision merger. He does a segment each week where it's like he literally lists off like 20 games no one on the podcast has heard of, and they're like, huh. These are interesting, and so I feel like that's kind of like my job is to bring in these weird niche indies. But yeah, no, so
it's law of our podcast.
Sure, I'll take it. I'll take it.
You know the legal stuff too, right?
I mean, I knew patent law. I took an IP law in college, so I kind of was able to suss that stuff out. So there you go.
Appreciate it, brother.
My advice is not legal advice. You need to build me first.
Finally, my boy Jet, you've been quietly stewing away. You want to talk about? Okay, who put COD MW3 kill confirmed? Is that you?
I bet it's him because he's posted like that in twice in chat now of him just bragging about his kill confirm score.
Jet, you there?
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
The iPad kid has lost his iPad battery.
Okay. He had an audio issue. Jet, you there?
Right, how about now?
Okay,
Yes.
There we go.
All right.
We're recording this late at night behind the scenes, so I'm like, oh no, did he fall asleep? Jet. So,
Yes.
COD MW3 kill confirmed. Also, you sound a bit quiet. Might want to turn that up.
Yeah. So let's see. Yeah. So I guess we'll start with COD. I've been for some reason ever since they dropped it on Game Pass, it's been a game where I just went monkey brain and I just didn't want to think about anything. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna jump into a game. And at first, I was doing pretty horribly in COD, but as I played more, I started to get better. And then last night, I played a game where I played a kill confirmed game where like I didn't get the most kills on my team, but like I got a lot of tags, and that got me a lot of points, and I felt like I ended up getting the most points on my team after winning. So that felt good. But yeah.
Oh yeah. You got to show off to those motherfuckers.
Yeah, I got someone who's boss, but yeah, that's been a lot of fun. But now the real game though, Wolf, the real game that I've really been playing. I've been deprived of this franchise for 3 months. 3 months.
Oh God forbid you go 3 months without Persona. Oh fuck.
Yeah, Persona 3, and they dropped the DLC episode IS on the week of my birthday. So thank you, Atlas, for this. And yeah, it was. It's okay. So here's the thing. It doesn't have my favorite part of Persona games, which is the social links. Playing the game, playing like those mini games and stuff. But it does it's basically just more of like Tartarus, but like just kind of different.
like you're still going through like these generated floors over and over again, but this one's a bit more grindy. Like I play on the easiest mode, and I had this moment where I skipped through a bunch of enemies, went to like one of the boss ones. I got humbled so hard.
Yeah, buddy, you better be grinding.
I need to go back and grind, and that's what I ended up doing. And then later on in the game, they do bring back. Okay, this was one of the things I really loved in base Persona 3, where like when you come back into the dorm, you can do like these cute little things, like you can make coffee with Mitsuru, watch TV with Yukari. They brought that back here too in the DLC.
Cool.
And I thought that was really cool. But yeah, and like that does actually like give enhancements for like for each characters in combat. And then for okay, so this one doesn't, like, I'm not sure what it actually does yet, but like they brought back gardening in a different way, where you go to Palawina Wall and you give this person some seeds and they'll plant. But I don't know what it actually does yet.
We'll see. Hey, man, you got to pay attention to those seeds. They could effectively unlock the true ending.
That's true. They're the answer.
The answer. Yeah, I forgot it was called that. No, this is definitely a DLC I want interested in checking out eventually. It's just, man, there's so much shit going on right now, like gaming wise. That's like, I'm forcing my way through Wukong instead. Like, maybe I just load up that Aegis DLC.
Yeah.
That's like the opposite for me. It's like I'm doing the Aegis DLC, and I'm like, what if I just went and bought the Prince of Persia: Mask of Darkness DLC instead and played that?
Oh, fuck, that's also out, bro. There's too much DLC.
Yep, too much. And I guess the other game that I've been playing, just like in short sessions, okay, Marvel versus Capcom: The Collection, and there's more than 2 of these games I've learned, and I was shook. I'm like, all right, they call this fighting. They have this fighting game with just the Marvel heroes. They call it Marvel Superheroes. Sure,
that's the one you're in.
Yeah, they didn't really think that far for the name, but that's okay. It's still very enjoyable. And then Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter, also amazing. Like, I've just been playing through them. Even the beat 'em up game, The Punisher.
Oh yeah, that game looks sick.
Oh yeah, it's really fun, and yeah. So those games I definitely recommend. Just because
Justin Wong yet online.
Yeah, yep.
Bro's been terrorizing the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to check out that collection. That definitely sounded like a ton of fun.
Yeah,
especially MVC 2.
Yeah, and then one game I'm probably gonna do on my flight. I'm gonna bring both these, but I'm either gonna do more Paper Mario or start up Tokyo Mirage.
Oh my god, that's like full. You're in the Wii bark.
Yep.
I mean that game actually does look kind of sick, and I've heard good things about the combat.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Jet, that's everything you're playing, everything Bob's playing, everything me and Moon playing. That's everything we've been playing. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's the end of our podcast. We went on for a decent amount of time, almost 2 hours, which that's around the time that we were expecting. Packed news week, talked a lot of good conversations. God rest your soul, Concord. But we do have to make the end of the podcast. If you want to check us out, we're on YouTube, Spotify, everywhere podcasts are found. At Twitter.com, Slice of Gaming. And I think that's it. Say goodbye, everybody.
Just think, this time next week, we could be actually talking about the Switch too.
For the love of God.
Switch 2.
Good night, boys.
Good night. Bye-bye, Concord.